Hello televiewers, and thanks for joining us on this edition of The Agenda. My name is Lasha Kingsley in Douala, Cameroon. Today on the program we shall be looking at the upsurge of violence in schools in Cameroon. What went wrong? What is happening to our schools? We shall equally be looking at the upcoming February 9 legislative and municipal elections in Cameroon. And today on the program we are glad to have Senior Barrister Ashu Emmanuel, who is a lawyer with the Cameroon Bar Association, as well as he's equally the president of the Reform political party. We shall be right back. Thank you so much, Senior Barrister Ashu Emmanuel, for joining us on this edition of The Agenda.
You're welcome, Mr. Kingsley. Happy New Year.
Thank you. Many viewers around the world would like to know more about you. They know you just as a senior barrister. Probably there are other parts of you or other things we want them to know.
Well, I am a son. I'm a son of Thomas Enoagbo, a retired police commissioner who hails from Ewele in the Manu division. I was born on the 31st of August 1962. I've been a lawyer since 1984 when I took the first oath. The second one was taken in 1987. As you rightly said, I'm the national president of Reform Party, but there's a whole lot of things that can be said about my political career, because I was one of the original founding fathers of SDF, of Cameroon Anglophone movement, a lot of those things. So that is Senior Barrister Ashu. I'm practicing in Douala, in Bonaberi, where I have a chambers with 6 lawyers.
This is interesting. Recently, we've observed an upsurge in violence in schools in Cameroon. As a legal mind, what is your own understanding of what is happening to our schools?
Well, not just as a legal mind, but especially as a politician, because it is in common parlance. They say you reap what you sow. We cannot expect to reap peace when we sow war. We are in a country where we have been experiencing war for the past 4 years, and this situation is impacting on our children, most of whom see it normal now that they should arm themselves one way or the other. You see, it is a very negative consequence of the ongoing civil war that we are experiencing in this country, because every day images, pictures, and videos are being shown of how people are killed, how children become child soldiers, and believe you me, this is very bad. You want to know that most of the violence in the schools takes its roots from that civil war background. Now, the second aspect is, you will notice that the violence, the upsurge you are complaining of, is mostly in the Francophone region, because there is a reason for that. The discipline in the Francophone educational system is wanting. You remember that the Anglophone crisis, when it broke out, one of the reasons was the declining educational system. See, there was a decline in the education in this country. And the Anglophones were saying, we cannot continue in this type of situation. Let us sit down and reform this thing. And the government turned a deaf ear. Now, when you look at the two systems, the English educational system has a rigid discipline in the English educational system. I will take a simple example. In the English educational system, when a child comes to school and he is late, he is punished. He is not sent home. When we were all going to school, we knew that Saturdays and Sundays were days for grass cutting. and corporal punishment. But in the Francophone system, when they say school begins at 7:30, at 7:30 they close the gates. All the children who are not in school stay out. You are training children to become vagabonds. Because if a child is living very far, and by that reason he has to come to school late every day, he may have to spend half of his school year out of the school fence. That is bad. It is better to admit this child in school and give him punishment than to leave him out of the school and, you have him go to the quarters, make company with people of the underworld, which is bad. You have many children, the girls become pregnant, and the boys go learning how to smoke Indian hemp, get into hard drugs. Today, when we see the consequences, people are surprised. How did these children get in touch with the hard drugs? It is
that is
only,
a question most people are asking.
It is only
how?
Because when they come to school and they are late, instead of the school authorities doing their job of educators, admitting these children in school and punishing them, they send them out. They send them away. And when these children are out of the fence, who controls them? Nobody. You see, we have said this thing time without number. The Francophone educational system has a very lax discipline system. The disciplinary system is very lax. And that is the cause of what we are experiencing, because the children grow up in a system of laissez-faire. He comes to school, he knows that he will be sent away. Fine, oh, good and fine. He has his place where he will go and and spend his time, take his drugs, do whatever thing he wants to do. In the evening, he carries his bag and goes back to the house. I'm from school. Has the parent gone to school to see that child was in school? No, sir. Have the school authorities written to the father or invited the father to tell him or her that, look, this child was not in school? You see, the two systems are so different. In the English system, if a child doesn't come to class...
But the two systems are operating, alongside in this Francophone zone you are talking about.
You can see it. Of all the cases of violence, how many happen in Anglophone schools? How many? You can see it yourselves. As I'm telling you, if they let them continue in their laissez-faire system, we'll see whether the violence will abate. They have to change that system of laxity and embrace a disciplinary system where the school authorities do their work. What the Francophones are doing is that the school authorities abandon their job of disciplinarians.
But this teacher was about disciplining the child. The teacher said he will not give undeserved marks to this child. And that resulted to what we have. The teacher was stabbed to death by the student.
Thank you. You see, when there is this common entrance, look at the Anglophone common entrance. The children go and write, no parents. When it is time for the Francophone common entrance, just watch. The parents, you see, first of all, the Anglophone common entrance is written in a common place. All the children come together. The Francophone common entrance is written in the various colleges. And it is a market for bribery and corruption. Look, please, I don't want to insult anybody, but go out there. If you think what I'm saying is not true, go out there when they have their entrée en sixième. See what happens in the various colleges. Because their centers are the various colleges. And all the parents flock at the gates of the various colleges when their children are writing entrée en sixième. That is when they go in now and buy their way through for their children. A child who comes into school through that way, don't you think that it is normal that he feels that when he is in class, he should buy his way through by giving money to the teacher to have marks? When at the same time that the teacher turns around and says, I will not give you undeserved marks, what do you expect
Senior Barrister,
the reaction from this child to be?
What do
we should stop this nonsense of favoritism from the beginning. You allow parents to enter the school to give money for their children to be admitted.
Senior Barrister, don't you think the parents on their part have failed to bring up these kids from home? Don't you think the problem is coming from home, not even with the school authorities or the laissez-faire you're talking about?
Excuse me, the education of a child depends not only on the school authorities, but also on the parents. And that is the reason why we have parent-teacher associations. The teachers and the parents meet and synchronize their activities as to how to bring up these children. Now, when the child leaves the house, the parent knows that this child is going to school. In fact, in the Anglophone system, the parent will accompany his child to school. In the Francophone system, they leave the children to either trek to school or take bike. Now, you see the difference. Now, I am telling you that.
This is interesting.
I am telling you that it is the system of laxity in the Francophone system that is causing the violence. Because the children, there is no way the parent can control this child when from the house, you don't even know whether the child goes to school or not. Because you, the parent, you don't carry the child to school. The Anglophones will do everything to carry their child to the school. Make sure the child enters the gate before he goes to work. But the Francophone, no. This is money for your beignet. The Anglophone will make food for the child to go to school. Look, you see, look. When you look at the way the two systems function, the Anglophone parent makes sure that his child who goes to school does not lack anything. If there is a canteen, because Anglophone schools always have canteens, the parent will pay money at the canteen for this child to be fed in school. It is not the same thing with the Francophone system. The Francophone will instead say, you need something like 100 francs or 200 francs to eat while you are in school. This is 200. What type of food does he know that this child is eating in school? He has no idea. If this child takes that 200 francs and buys tramadol instead of buying food, does the father know? He has no means of knowing. You see, that is where you start having problems.
15 years old, you see put food, buy food, and give a child of 15 years old senior barrister.
Sir, go to, in fact, 15 years old, you not find any child in the primary school at 15. They will all be in secondary school. And our secondary schools, as you know, most of them are boarding. The food is there. I mean, the Anglophones take time to make sure that the students don't lack anything. If they are pupils or they are students, they don't lack anything that will make them go to the quarter and send their hand to somebody to say, help me. They don't lack.
So how do we get out of this?
Thank you. As I was saying, the Francophones should learn to adopt a disciplinary system that enables the teachers or the school authorities to do their work. They should stop running away from their job. Because all they do, how we see them do, they cross their hands, ask the gate man to close the gate, and they don't have anything to do like punishing the children. The other day we saw in one of these lycées down Bonaberi here, a parent came and attacked the vice principal because they asked his child to run.
Yeah.
You see?
Serious.
Yes, it was reported all over. A gendarme who had a child in the lycée brought the child, and the vice principal asked the child to run in punishment. The gendarme attacked the vice principal. You see that this is a parent who himself he needs to be disciplined. This parent needs to be disciplined. He does not know that the school authorities are entitled to give punishment to this child for coming late. In the Anglophone system, you will not have that type of immediate punishment. Go to class. We give you punishment on Saturday and Sunday. Come and do grass cutting. Come and clean the yard. Come and do your punishment. Whatever. So the parent will not have to see what punishment his child is.
Senior barrister, so you putting the blame entirely on the parents?
I am saying what we are seeing is the result of the school authorities abandoning their duty of disciplinarians. As disciplinarians, the parents themselves are laxed. They are loose. They don't want to see to it that education is given to these children. You see, when you talk about the courts, they say justice should not just be done, but it should be seen done. Take it to education. The parents should make sure that these children are seen in school. In the English system, the parents carry their children to school and make sure that these children are in class. The Francophone parents don't do that. They give transport for the child to go to school. Or they say trek to school.
Some people have raised the issue of classroom sizes. That in the classroom you have about 150, 110 kids. Normally when the text says that a classroom, we should have 60, 50 students in a classroom. Don't you think it's difficult for teachers to contain these students when it comes to discipline?
Well,
a teacher disciplining about 100 and something students, is it not difficult to contain all of them?
Excuse me, we are talking about two different things here. You are talking about discipline, and you are talking at the same time about pedagogy. You see, a teacher who is faced with a classroom of 100, he has 100 children. The problem here is not discipline. The problem is whether this teacher will make each and every one of these children in the class understand and participate in the academic work. That has to do with pedagogy. Now, if there is a problem of discipline, you see in all those schools they have discipline masters. If there's a problem of discipline, it's easy. The teacher will just say, okay, you come out. They send you to discipline master, who will organize what is necessary for you to be brought back to your normal senses. You see? But the problem in the classroom, it is not really discipline, because discipline is taken care of. They just isolate the culprit and send him or her to the discipline master. In the classroom, we should bother more about the understanding that each pupil or student has of the teacher. Does the teacher have enough time to give to each child? Are you sure that as you are teaching, the young man seated or young lady seated behind the class there gets the same understanding of what you are teaching as the man in front? That's the problem. You see, that is pedagogy. And any person who has been trained in pedagogy knows what to do. You know what to do. If you don't know, you are supposed to know, or you ought to know, or you are deemed to know, because you are taught that in school. There are techniques. You can rotate the children. You can vary their sitting positions. You can stroll while you are teaching, so that every person has the same opportunity of getting closer to you. Instead of you standing just in front, you can stroll to in the depth of the room, of the classroom, so that every child, and then you make sure that nobody sleeps or nobody is diverted by. There are some people who are in class, they play with telephone. Now you see, we have this problem. When you even accuse the teachers in the classroom, we have this problem of total lack of discipline in the classes. How can you imagine that teachers will allow children enter the school compound with telephones?
You see, the teacher is not concerned with what is happening at the school gate.
Excuse me, sir.
Senior barrister.
Excuse me, sir. He is supposed to be concerned.
He comes to class. It means
yes.
All the teachers, they have to search.
He is supposed to be concerned. It's a very simple thing. If I have the first lesson, if I'm a teacher and I have the first lesson, as you are coming, is it difficult for me to say, open the bag? You have a telephone. If I find why you're in trouble, I search you before you enter. Or you ask the discipline master to do that before they enter the class. It's very simple.
It means that at every start of each lesson, the children...
Search them. Search the children. Make sure that if they were being searched, you will not have knives and phones and all those things inside their bags. They are not being searched. You see, in one of these schools in Douala, the police went there and they caught knives and phones and all that, because ordinarily the teachers don't care whatever these children carry in their bags.
What do they care for?
Thank you. I had said that they abandoned their duty as disciplinarians and instead just fold their hands and watch the children do what they like. It is wrong. We should ask the teaching staff to be responsible and to do the job for which it is being recruited. It's not just a matter of taking a chalk. Make sure that these children don't carry those dangerous things in their bags.
Senior barrister, apparently Ngoso Breeze is a minor.
Yes,
and when
sir?
you look at the way the Cameroonian media treated his case and where he is currently being detained now, what does the law say about somebody who is a minor when they commit such a crime?
A minor, you see, there is a court for minors, which is the court of...
By the way, who is a minor? Before we go to that, who is a minor?
An adult is any person who is 21, right?
So in the Cameroonian context, who is a minor?
Any person who is 21 is an adult, right? Now, there's minority for adults, there's minority for men, there's minority for women. A woman from 18 or from even 16, because that's the age at which a woman can get married with parental consent. So, a person who is not up to 21, it's not an adult, it's an adolescent. Now, if he's 15, you are a real minor. You see, there are some minors who can be penally responsible. There are others who have to be treated as minors. If this man is less than 18, let's just say less than 21.
He's 15.
Less than 21, he's a minor. He's a minor, less than 21. Because adulthood is 21. Less than 21, he's a minor. Okay, he is 15. There is a special court for minors. And that court is at the court of first instance. Even if this minor has committed a felony, he will be tried for that felony before the court of first instance. He will have to undergo the same process as an adult who committed the offense. That is to say, there will be judicial inquiry by an examining magistrate for minors. For minors. And at the end of it, he will be sent to the court to be tried.
If found guilty,
he will be given a punishment which will be reserved for minors. You cannot give them the same punishment like adults. No. Their own punishment is right down there. You see, the minor who is a criminal does not go to the same court as an adult. While the adult will go to the high court, the minor will be tried by the court of first instance. The court for minors.
So when you look at
they have a court for minors at the court of first instance.
When you look at Brice's case, the case of this...
Brice will be sent to prison, but he will not appear before the high court. He will appear before the court of first instance, sitting as a minor's court.
I got you.
There is a court for minors in the court of... There's a bench for minors at the court of...
Is it operational in Cameroon?
Of course it is. All the courts have it.
Normally, let's take, for example, in America, he would have been sent to a reformation center for him to be reformed.
We have in this country...
transformed.
We have in this country provision for a prison for minors, which is not operational. Now, you see, like in Douala here, take the example of Douala, you have service, there's a Centre de la Jeunesse, this new bear, the panda here.
Yes.
Yes, that is supposed to be a prison for minors, but it's not operational. That one is supposed to be a prison for minors. It is not operational. They carry all the minors and send to New Bear. That place there near the stadium, in that service social, it has a prison there for minors, but they're not using it. It's not operational. So the state had provided those type of facilities. Unfortunately, they are not being used. Minors are not supposed to be put in the same prisons as adults.
So with the case of Brice now, let's assume he is found guilty with the current dispensation.
I said his punishment will be less than that which will be given to an adult. You cannot give him the same punishment. It's a minor. The law is softer for them than the adults.
When you look at this article of the Penal Code that talks about...
Which one?
Article 80 of the Penal Code. It says that rather prescribe that a child aged 14 and below 18 shall benefit from mitigating circumstances.
Yes. That is to say the court that is going to try him would apply that. The court that will be in charge of trying him will apply that. But he will not be taken to the high court. There is a court for minors. There's a special court for minors.
Let's take, for example, the case of two young Cameroonians who have spent close to 5 years in prison for exchanging messages about Boko Haram. They are minors, but they are serving prison terms.
Did I say a minor cannot be convicted? I said their own sentence is softer.
No, but when you look at, they are in prison.
Yes. The state provided special facilities for the detention of minors. But I said, like the case of this Bepanda, they are not operational. We have one in Douala here. It's not operational. It was meant for minors, but they're not using it. It's instead being used by football teams that go there, or that come to Douala to play matches. They go and lodge there. It is supposed to be a prison for minors. You see, what you are saying is that it's mitigation for minors. Yes, it exists, but that mitigation will be applied by the trial court. And what I am saying is the minors don't have the same trial court as the adults. If Briefs were 21. He would have been sent to High Court. High Court for felonies. You go to examining magistrate, his own, it will be different.
Okay, Barrister, let's talk about the upcoming municipal and legislative elections in Cameroon. Incidentally, you're the leader of a political party. With the current dispensation, the socio-political upheavals in the two English-speaking regions of the country and tension in the other parts of the country, what is your own take on these elections? Is it really necessary? Was the election necessary?
Well, the electoral process is a process that enables the state to renew the governance, the governing team. You see, it is through elections that the people who have been selected by the population to govern them are renewed. And we have this habit of saying all things being equal. All things being equal, we have to carry out elections. Now, the problem now, or the problem today, is that we are in a state of civil war. In fact, our head of state declared war. He declared 2 wars, one against Boko Haram, one against...
No, but he said Ambazonia.
I said he declared 1 war against Boko Haram. He did so in Paris. He declared war on Boko Haram. Then the second one, he declared war against those who took up arms against the state. Right? Correct. So, he declared 2 wars. As of today, those wars have not ended, which means that Cameroon is in a state of war. Now, can you talk of democracy, of government of the people, by the people, and for the people in times of war? That is where the problem is. We are in a state of war, and you cannot normally expect democracy to be operational in a state of war. You must, first of all, you see, during wartime, the language is the language of arms. Kalashnikov, AK-47, bombs and all that, missiles and all that. That is the language of war. You cannot be warring and doing democracy at the same time. Now,
the enemy has been defined. Boko Haram and Ambazonia.
I'm sorry. When you say Ambazonia is an enemy, I want to differ. I beg to differ because what some people call Ambazonia today happens to be southern Cameroons or the present-day northwest and southwest regions, which are de facto parts of Cameroon. De facto parts of Cameroon. So you cannot be part of a nation and you are considered as an enemy. They are children of the same house. You cannot be waging a war against your own children. A father, when his 2 children have a problem, he cannot say, you, John, take a knife, kill your brother.
If John picks up the knife and you tell John to drop the knife and John is not heeding to your call, what will you do? You allow John to stab you with a knife? You give Peter
a Kalashnikov to kill John? Are you a father? That is wrong. A father should make peace among his children instead of encouraging war among them. That is wrong. You see, that's what we are saying is that the present context is that of civil war. There is no secret about that. It's a civil war. What else will you term it when the government itself announces officially that they sent 3,500 soldiers to the northwest? What is that? Are they sending soldiers to go and caress the population? In Bali, at the end of last week, we had 50 dead. They were being caressed. The journalists
civilians?
said 50 civilian deaths. And the journalists announced that it was as a result of shooting between the government forces and the restoration forces. Why would that shooting be only where there are civilians to have up to 50? The same thing, a similar thing happened in Bangem.
Did you verify the statistic to be sure that what you are saying you can prove?
Excuse me, it is not a matter of conjecture. If something comes up on news that is carried by media organs, I don't think I have to go and be. It's on social media. It came up. I don't want to cite other channels that broadcasted the news. It's clear what broadcasted. So it's not up to me to say it is 1 man or 2. They announced that 50 died. I wasn't there. I heard over television. I saw it. They said it was a result of conflict between the government soldiers and restoration forces. And the civilians were caught in crossfire and houses were burnt. That is the proof that it is an atmosphere of war. We are going now towards elections. How do you expect political parties, which according to the Constitution, are supposed to vie for positions during the elections? They are supposed to compete during the elections. How will they go out to compete when civilians who are in their houses find themselves being caught in the crossfire? They die and their houses are burnt. Therefore, do you expect political parties to go out and conduct their campaigns?
If you were to advise Mr. Bia, what would you tell him?
Mr. Bia is president of CPDM.
No, he's the president of the Republic, elected with over 71% votes.
Mr. Paul Bia is president of CPDM, which happens to be a political party participating in the campaigns. Can Mr. Bia go down there to campaign? I'm just taking a simple thing. Can he go down there to campaign? You want me to advise him? He is a political leader. We are talking about election. Can he go down the field to campaign in the Northwest and Southwest region? Obviously, he cannot.
But
there is a civil
his
war.
supporters will do that for him.
Those you call his supporters. Well, I think time will tell us how many of them will come out. Because as of now, no single soul can dare go out to say he's carrying a banner of any party. The Amazonians have said they don't want elections in their land. And they are putting up a fight. And we see that there is really a problem because shooting everywhere. Are you sure on the election day they will not be shooting? Are you sure? Okay, in Limbe, I think on Monday, the Office of the Basic Education, which happens to be a polling station,
was
polling center, was burned down. Despite the presence of the army, it was burned down. How do you explain? Those who were supposed to vote that polling system, where would they vote? You have to look for an alternative place. Are you sure that any person around that area will want to venture outside to go and vote? No, sir. We are not sure. You see, you cannot mix war and peace. If it is war, let the weapons talk. If it is peace, let the peacemakers, let the political parties come out. I am president of a political party. If you ask me to go out to go and campaign in Northern and Southwest, I will tell you no, I am not going.
So you didn't apply?
I am not going. No, Southwest, Northwest, I am not going. I cannot endanger any person's life. All the people who wanted to apply there, I beg them, please. I am not responsible for endangering your life. I am not going. In the Francophone area, oh yes, there is no war here. Yes, you can participate in election. It is a civic right for any citizen to participate in elections. But you cannot carry out elections in a context of civil war. That is not possible. When you see administrators go out, you see them with bags of sand, armored cars. Do political leaders also have armored cars and bags of sand that will be protecting them from bullets? If they have, will their militants also have armored cars, gun-proof suits, and bags of sand to defend, to protect each one? No. We should be serious.
As a responsible political leader, you are. I still go back to my question. If you were to advise Mr. Bia, there's still time for the elections, what will you tell him
we have given Mr. Bia all the advice that he needed to have. And he decided to take his own way. We had advised him. Mr. Bia, this Anglophone crisis can be brought to rest. What you need to do is very simple. Number one, the crisis has erupted as a result of the Anglophone awareness that their state was quenched and put under the table. And the Anglophones no longer have confidence in anybody to manage their affairs for them. You see, look, when you look at the...
No, sir,
excuse me. When you look at the resolutions of AAC2, it is very clear. There is no need for anybody to talk of hidden agenda. Because when you look at those resolutions, they said they are giving the government a period of time If the government does not put back their state on the table, then they will declare their independence.
But the independence they had earlier declared by voting to join La République du Cameroun.
Excuse me, that was not independence, sir. The independence was obtained in 1961 when the United Nations recognized that they had decided to join, to obtain independence by joining their brothers. UN
as one country, as one country.
You should go back and read the text. The UN didn't say as one country. They said, you have agreed to obtain independence by joining your brothers, by joining the Republic of Cameroon. And they said, you have to sit together. Britain, Article 5, Britain, Government of Southern Cameroon and the Republic of Cameroon, as a matter of urgency, sit together and come out with an agreement in which the parties will decide on how to implement the agreed policies of all the parties. That is the Union Treaty. That has never been done till today. So you cannot say that the UN decided that they should be living as one country. Because we have there, in that 1961 setting, proof that there were two independent states. So if you are talking of the coming together of two independent states, you'll be talking of a confederation, not a unitary state. The only form that two independent states can take living together is a confederation. Because if you even take them to the federation that was put in place in 1961, we are saying that a federation is a downgrading of the status of the two states. Because in a federation, the federated states are not independent and not free to do whatever they like. The big state, that is the federal state, is the person who is the big umbrella covering the two of them. They are states of a smaller category. But you have here two independent states. The Republic of Cameroon obtained its independence and was a member state of the UN. Now, when you take that state and downgrade it to a federated state, you are not doing it justice. Southern Cameroon was a state that was recognized as an independent state in Article 2 of the Resolution 1608. When you take it and make it a federated state, you are downgrading its independence.
Barrister, the Constitution is the highest law of the land.
Yes, sir.
If you may want to agree with me, Cameroon, according to 1996 Constitution, is divided into regions, decentralized regions, right? If you are talking about states of former British Southern Cameroon, don't you see that you are living in the past? When, as a legal mind, you know that the Constitution is the highest law of the land. And Cameroon, presently, we are under the 1961 or the 1996 Constitution.
Thank you very much. I am not living in the past. I want to take you to the 1996 Constitution that you are citing. Look at Article 68 of that Constitution. It reads, "The laws of the Federal Republic of Cameroon, the laws of the Federated States of Cameroon remain in force so long as they don't run contrary to the present Constitution." Let me remind you that the Federated States...
You are talking about the 1961 Constitution
now? I am talking about 1996 Constitution.
Okay.
If you want me to take it out, that's this Article 68 of the current Constitution. Many people make this noise and forget that, it is inside the Constitution. That Constitution recognizes the existence of three states. Because it says the laws of the Federal Republic, the laws of the two federated states remain in force. Let me take you a law of one of those federated states which is being applied to today. The East Cameroon Federated State. In matters of customary law, you have the Decree 544. I've forgotten the date, which organizes the customary courts. It is applied today. That is what governs the customary courts in former East Cameroon. That is the law of a federated state that is being applied till this day. And I am saying that the Article 68 of the current Constitution recognizes that all those laws of both federated state and of the federal state remain in application, in force, insofar as they don't run contrary. Now, take the laws of Southern Cameroons, or West Cameroon, which was Southern Cameroon. Southern Cameroon had its constitution, which was 1948 Macpherson Constitution. That constitution, by Article 68, is enforced today. Southern Cameroon High Court law, 1955 High Court law, is enforced till today. That is the reason why you have the Anglophone judicial system that is in place. The company's ordinance and all those things are in place. That is the reason why OHADA has difficulty in Anglophone Cameroon. Because OHADA is not an Anglophone legislation. It was meant for Francophone
But that
countries.
question has been put to rest by the translation into English.
Look, please, we are talking law here. You cannot tell me that translation of OHADA to English lays a question of constitutionality to rest. No, sir. Such that type of thing doesn't exist. Did OHADA legislate in 1948? Are they the authors of 1948 Constitution? Can you change something that is not your own? Can a legislation to which you are not a party be applicable to you? I said Article 68 of the current Constitution says that those laws remain in place. Can any court, any assembly in Cameroon today modify anything that was enacted by an assembly of Southern Cameroons? You know the answer is a no. You cannot change what is not yours. You cannot. You see, it is not for nothing that today Cameroon does not celebrate its independence. Our president made a speech on the 31st of January, of December. Did he mention the Independence Day? You were there. Did you hear him mention Independence Day? He didn't. Did Cameroon celebrate its Independence Day? Republic of Cameroon celebrate its independence on the 1st of January? It did not. Now, the question is a simple one. Why don't they celebrate it? Because you want to celebrate Independence Day, you will have to celebrate two. 1st of January, 1st of October. But you claim to be in a unity state. Now, you talked of the unity constitution of today. Let me remind you, maybe you forgot. That unity constitution had its roots from the federal constitution. Let us leave the other changes. It was derived from the federal constitution. The federal constitution of 1961 was the unilateral act of President Ahmadou Ahidjo. Southern Cameroon never signed anything there. Will you tell me that as a legal mind, I should say yes? There was a constitution in 1961 that Southern Cameroon never signed.
So you are telling
and it should be applied to Southern Cameroon.
You are telling me Ahmadou Ahidjo acted unconstitutionally.
I am not telling you, it's a fact that nobody can deny. All those people in Yaoundé who used to claim that Anglophone signed, let them produce what was signed. Nothing was signed. In Fumban, nothing was signed. The Union Treaty that was prescribed has never been signed by anybody. And that is the reason why today the USA, the UN, the European Union, they're all asking Cameroon, go to Switzerland and batter out the agreement. Go and negotiate so that you people can have a common ground on which you people can live together.
So what is the way forward out of this situation?
Now, the way forward is a very simple one. On one hand, you have the extremists, the Anglophone extremists who want independence. On the other hand, you have the Cameroon government that wants to remain inside the unity state. I personally propose a middle line. The middle line is, let us go back to federalism. It did not hurt anybody in 1961. It will not hurt anybody today.
That one is a sole decision of the assembly, the
I
National
am saying
Assembly.
that when Mr. Biya changed...
Because it has to do with the constitution.
When Mr. Biya changed United Republic of Cameroon to Republic of Cameroon, the assembly did not intervene. Did it? Did the assembly intervene? Thank you. So it does not have anything to do with assembly. I am telling you that the solution today is a political solution by Mr. Biya. If he says...
He organized a major national dialogue. The resolution You were there.
I wasn't there.
Unfortunately, you were stopped.
Recorded me.
You came.
You recorded me at the entrance when I said they stopped me from entering the hall.
That's why you came there. You weren't given the opportunity to
They
go
did not
there.
allow me to enter because they had tailored their meeting for people they wanted. They did not want dissenting voices. So that major national dialogue was organized by one of the two Cameroons. We are saying that it should be the two brothers who should sit together.
Well, you cannot say one.
The two
Cardinal
brothers.
Tumi was there. Dr. Simon Munzu of
Simon
the
Munzu
ACC
is not,
was there.
Excuse me, all those names you are giving are not Southern Cameroons. We should have legal representation from Southern Cameroons. Let me tell you, at the major national dialogue, you had invitations issued out by the Prime Minister upon the high instructions of the head of state to the interim government of Southern Cameroons.
There were consultations.
I am saying the Prime Minister issued out official invitations to all the members of the interim government in the diaspora.
Why did they not come? Why did they not come?
Which means the government recognized that interim government. Contrary to what you think, they were there. They came through the person who was their attorney. They briefed Mr. Herman Cohen, who came as the attorney. When he came, he said he preferred Swiss negotiations. He said he has come, but he prefers Swiss negotiation. That was a voice showing that they were present. And his position is being echoed today by many. You see that apart from what Americans and all other people are saying, former African heads of states have come in now to say, okay, we are going to gather 500 people from Cameroon in Kenya and in April, and sit April 2020, and we'll sit down and see what can come out of this thing. As I was saying, you see, the middle line of federalism of two federated states is very important because it's going to help many of those who are in the bushes, whose cry is that they should be given the opportunity to manage their affairs themselves. It will make them leave, drop their weapons, and come out without any person asking them. The problem is that everything is governed from Yaoundé. That decides everything. How can you imagine that of this year, the investment budget South is more than that of Northwest and Southwest? Those are facts. You cannot deny. Go and look at it. How can you? Because
voted by the MPs, the very members of parliament, including your Anglophone brothers.
The Anglophones are people who are used to equity. You should treat me the same way as I treat you. Why should the president's region, how many deputies, how many parliamentarians has his region? How many parliamentarians has Douala? I don't want to go to the Anglophone. How many parliamentarians have Douala compared to his own region? What is the population of his region? I mean, you see, look, these are things that are not correct. We expect that this government in place should take the advice of Anglophones and do the things correctly. Don't treat some people as second class and others as first class. There's no reason why Douala, that has almost 1/3 of the entire population of Cameroon, has how many MPs? How many? Look at the population, the official figures they are giving. It is horrific and horrendous. You see, they should do things correctly. Look at the national budget. It is no secret, 85% of it remains in Yaoundé. Why? The remaining 15% is divided to the... so when Anglophones stand up and say, no, we don't trust you to manage our matters for us, are they right or wrong? In fact, as I am talking now, there is no single Francophone who will still accept that Yaoundé should manage their affairs for them. If they had their way, they would rather have a federal system where every region has the possibility of managing its affairs. I'm talking of Francophones. Because this duplicity in management, they carry all the money and put in Yaoundé. A few people steal all the money and all of us remain poor. It's wrong. It's wrong. So the way forward, I am saying, we should advise Mr. Biya not to wait for UN to come and impose us federalism.
So you stand for federalism?
I stand for confederation. But the decision of the form of the state is not one man's decision. It's the decision of the entire Cameroonian people.
Who just made in Yaoundé?
Since the Cameroonian people are divided between unitary states, independence of Southern Cameroons, total independence of Southern Cameroons, because the independence that they have now is the one that was recognized by you, and that is by joining Republic of Cameroon. If they want total independence and there is this war, the only way to come out of it is to go back to a system that did not have any civil war. When there was this federal system, there was no civil war. Foncha was not happy with it, but it was going, it was ongoing. It was a going concern. And many people today will be satisfied with that federal system. I am ready to put some water into my wine and say, okay, confederation is good, but we can accept federalism. We can take that as a middle way. In negotiations, you lose something and take something. I want to be legalist and say, okay, international law recognized the independence of Republic of Cameroon, the independence of Southern Cameroon. So there are two independent states. The only way they can come together is a confederation. But on the ground, if it is necessary for us to have a peace formula that enables alternation of power after a francophone must come an anglophone, allows anglophones to manage their affairs, francophones to manage their affairs. The citizens will be able to choose. I like living a francophone can go to Boya and live there. Those who like English go to Boya. Those who like the French come to this other side. That is how it should be. Don't impose on every person your own personal will. That is wrong. And that's what is causing this present trouble, because the Yaoundé government is imposing its will on the entire people.
Senior Barrister Ashu Emmanuel, thanks so much for accepting to be guests on this edition of The Agenda.
The pleasure is mine.